And without further ado, super excited that you're joining us for another episode, whether you're watching, whether you're listening. Great to have you here, and great to be joined by my next guest here on the show. We have Maria Oakes, the owner of Frey's Place. Good to see you, my friend. How are you? Doing okay?
Great. Yep. How you doing?
So far, so good. And we're in your lovely establishment, here in the Moraine area. The first question, I just got to jump right into it because I know for a fact that you are the most ultimate dog lady at heart, and I can tell that you have a huge passion for it. How'd you get into this world of just making a career out of taking care of people's pets, training? You do a little doggy daycare. You kind of do a little bit of everything. How'd you fall into this line of work?
Just like you said, it's a love of animals, and I've worked within a couple different animal shelters in management positions, enriching their lives within a shelter environment. And I got into Frey's because I wanted to help people in the community more before they would have to consider rehoming or something like that. So for me, it's a huge mission here to offer something unique, to be a resource to the community, not just a standard commercialized daycare, I guess.
And I love what you've done to the place. And you can probably hear it in this episode right now. I mean, where you're located up, you can hear all the sounds, and you've really converted this warehouse to a place where it's a puppy sanctuary, if you want to call it that. But I really love what you're creating here in terms of an experience, safety for pets, and at the end of the day, your life's work. So talk a little bit about that. So you worked more in the shelter world for a little while?
Yes. So I managed a animal care and behavioral department in the state of Maine, and then I relocated here and managed an animal care and behavioral department in Ohio. And then I decided to retire, and then I felt like my skill set would be best utilized in the community, not within a rescue or a shelter environment. So,
did you have a lot of pets growing up?
No, actually, we had one Cocker Spaniel and then a hermit crab.
A Cocker Spaniel and a hermit crab.
Yeah.
Okay. What was the Cocker Spaniel's name?
Shane.
Shane?
Shane.
Yeah. I like
Yeah.
when dogs have people names. It's like my favorite thing, like a Steve or a Bob or a Doug.
Yeah, and he fit the name. So, yeah, Shane.
Yeah. So, okay. So you decided, hey, I don't want to work in the more, shelter themed lifestyle. It wasn't working for you. Was Frey's Place your first attempt, or at least your first shot at trying to create something of your own that was out of that world and out of the shelter world? Or did you have a couple other adventures that eventually led you here to where we are today here at your really great location, which what's this main drag right here? It's South Dixie, right?
Yeah.
South Dixie, located right off South Dixie. So did you have any other spots or any other businesses that you got off the ground before ultimately making Frey's Place to what it is?
Sure. So I actually had founded a 501c3 rescue, and we would do our own transports, and I worked within that for a few years, doing my own 501c3 rescue. And then I had opened another dog club. And then, like I said, I retired to work in the shelters. And then we had actually been in Dayton prior to this, off of Webster Street, for about 3 years.
So you're not, are you originally from Dayton?
No.
So did you say Maine earlier?
The state of Maine.
You're from the state of Maine. Okay.
I managed a humane society there.
So you manage the Humane Society in
the
Maine.
behavior department, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So what ultimately brought you here?
Another management position. I was trying to get closer to where my family was, and it was within a shelter here. So I relocated to the animal shelter here.
And when was that?
Oh, like 5 years ago, maybe?
5 years ago? So, okay. So have you been, what's the biggest difference between Maine? I mean, I would assume the weather, the biggest difference between Maine and the Miami Valley.
Definitely the weather. And the community, I find like the Midwest more welcoming. I mean,
really,
it really is. So that would be the biggest difference, I guess.
I've always been told that we're overly nice here.
Yes, pretty much. Yeah, exactly. And there's no snow here really. So yeah.
I mean, it can happen every now and again, but so I really want to understand too, with Frey's Place. So you've been here for a little over 5 years living here, and you really have gone above and beyond to make Frey's Place what it is. For the people that aren't too familiar with what Frey's Place is all about, Tell me about some of the services that you do offer here. I mean, it,
Sure.
like I said, is like a dog puppy sanctuary here. You know,
Sure.
when we came in here for the first time, I couldn't get over how many dogs were running around. And there's several different compartments of this facility where you have a room for
Yes.
this, a room for that, a room for, you know, you've got so much going on. Tell me a little bit, I mean, a 30,000 foot view, if you will, of the different services that you offer here and
Sure.
ultimately what you're trying to accomplish.
Sure. So basically, when I opened this location, I wanted kind of a community resource for people to come. And it's not just centered around daycare, although daycare is an important component. We are more of a fully immersive, specialized enrichment daycare, and we work with properly socializing these dogs. Like in my dream for opening this was, I don't want just the run of a mill daycare. I wanted to teach them things. And so we work with them doing anything from nose work. We do sound therapy with them. They have crystal sound bowl sessions. We do, they do swimming. We teach them proper socialization, how to share with each other, just skills that, a lot of times they won't be exposed to, at other places or, even within a home. So it gives them a well-rounded experience. And so that's the daycare component. But I wanted to cater to the community for people that, and not just dogs, but, for people that maybe have issues being in like a group setting and they want to just be alone. They don't have a fenced yard. They don't have things for their dog, but they want to be able to get out, and maybe their dog has some reactivity and it shouldn't be really out in the community, or they just want to be alone with their dog. We have a private dog park. It has agility equipment that we custom made. It has little pools in there. And then it's 6,000 square feet. And then we have I call it the Nook. And it's the first one in Ohio. It's a fully immersive sensory experience, but it centers around nose work.
And can we talk about that just real quickly? Nose work, just kind of like an elevated sniffing experience. Is that kind of what I'm understanding?
So, yeah. And without getting into too much of it, dogs see through their noses. So I have something in there called the Smellbrary, and there's actually scents from all over the world. If it's things that we wouldn't even as people normally see. So we have bedding from a coatimundii, we have camel hair, we have shells from Okinawa, Japan, you name it, we have it in there. And it's because dogs, like I said, without getting into too much, they see the world through their noses and they piece apart layers of scents. And so they can tell, for instance, like what climate that came from. They obviously the fresher the scent, they find more interest. So their favorite's the coatimundii. But they just find it's kind of like going to the zoo. How we go to the zoo, for us, we see in 2D, it's visual. For them, they like literally piece every scent apart.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's actually really fascinating. I know you say you don't want to get too
Yeah.
deep into it, but the more that you describe that, they see through their noses. They can see a whole dimension. It sounds like they can see the future, the past, the present, and everything in between.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's been interesting, again, without trying to get into too much, but they say that they can see thermally through their nose. So they can see different, and for us it'd be 2D, visual, but they can sense heat through their nose. So
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. And
that's
then,
how they target in the dark so well. Yeah.
because they are using their sense of
Mhm.
smell there.
Mhm.
That's really fascinating. And so most pet owners in a million years wouldn't think to like have a Smellbrary. What'd you call it? A
The
Smellbrary?
Smellbrary.
A
Yep.
Smellbrary,
Mhm.
which, he showed us that, and of course had some, we got to see what that was all about. And you have different smells from all over the world.
Yep.
And so for the most pet owners, I mean, they're not really thinking twice about it. Man's best friend, it's a family pet. It's like a family member. When a dog isn't exposed to that sort of, those sort of things, like, smells from all over the world, and they're not really getting to exercise that, God-given gift that they have. Does that hold a dog back? Is it like really limiting a dog by not letting them really take their senses to whatever level they need to. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, definitely. So, I have 17 certifications in behavior training, and so occasionally I'll do classes and seminars. And what I tell people all the time, because I'll have the one client that's complaining, I'll walk for 5 hours and my dog's still fine. Normally, a dog was built to run. That it'd be survival if they needed to out in the wild. But what a domesticated dog cannot do is think. And so 15 minutes of mental stimulation is equal to an hour of a walk with a dog. People don't understand that. So if you do, for instance, that's why they actually say, 15 minutes of training sessions, because it mentally drains a dog. So you can take like an athlete, like Michael Phelps, and he could, swim and swim and swim and swim, but then you sit him in front of like, an intensive exam for 4 hours. Can he do the same thing? And will he be mentally drained at the end of the exam versus swimming for 4 hours time, right? If that makes sense, kind
No.
of.
Well, I mean, so really, I mean, mentally drains you physically.
They have to, because that's what they were designed to do, was use their nose.
That's so interesting. Yeah. And there was another thing you said, some sound therapy as well.
So we do crystal sound bowls on different frequencies, because it actually has a calming effect. And it actually, I actually stumbled upon that watching a YouTube video, but there hasn't been a lot of formal research, because people use them, Tibetan sound bowls. They've been using them for ever with humans. Nobody ever thought to try it with dogs. So, for instance, after the 4th of July, the stress level was really bad. A lot of the dogs were having issues when they came back, from the stress and the anxiety of the fireworks. So we did like 2 days, I think we did 15 minutes each day of the sound therapy, and it completely rebooted them. Literally within 5 minutes, they're all calm. So we do that at various times with them. Yeah.
That's fascinating, because you think about just us as humans, some sounds are just soothing to us, and certain frequencies put you at calm. Some frequencies make you freak out. That makes me think about the dog whistle, like where they can only hear a certain frequency. Is that true? Like there's a certain frequency they can only hear through that dog whistle, right?
Yes.
And is it startling to them? Is it soothing to them? Like, what makes that actually work for them?
Are you talking about the sound bowls, or?
Well, I'm just kind of thinking, now that you're talking about these sound bowls, and I'm hearing that frequency really plays a huge role. Like when you use a dog whistle, like, is it soothing?
It's more
to
of
them?
a startle. No,
It's a
So
it's
the
not
dog
soothing. It's
whistle is
startling.
like, people use it more of a startle. So actually we train your recall with a whistle. And it's just a standard gym whistle. But that's supposed to be startling, and they can hear it, over miles. But so no, it's the sound bowls, like I said, like you said, the frequencies that we use, we also dull them down by putting water inside of it, and then we'll also put like lavender oil in there, and then I don't know the exact frequencies that it's at, but it works. We have 5 of them.
And so we're barely scratching the surface
Yeah.
of everything that you have here. I mean,
Yes.
from the sound therapy, the Smellbrary, which is such a clever name, but you really want this to be a well-rounded facility to where someone can come in with a problem. Like, how often are you dealing with behavioral issues?
Well, actually, I have one today after the podcast wraps up, but I take specific behavior cases usually. My specialty is hoarding, overcrowding, free roaming dogs. Basically, I focus on the behaviors that will either land a dog rehomed, or in a shelter, or otherwise worse. But and that a lot of those, like this case I'm going to after this, it's been able to hopefully keep this dog in a home. And but
What do you think people, I don't want to say mess up most, but they always say the thing that's going to cost you the most in life, is what you don't know. And how many pet owners are there in the United States and in Ohio? Like, you can't count. What's the number one thing that you find the general public does wrong that leads to a dog being either a little more wound up than it should be, or maybe not as well behaved? And it's something that we just don't know any better. I'm not a dog expert.
I think the training world, it's sad because there's not enough emphasis on the importance of behavior. If you do not, and I don't mean socialize your dog by dragging it to a dog park and having a free-for-all, but if the people don't understand when they're getting these dogs, they think, okay, I need to start at 8 weeks. I need to go to a training class for a puppy. I need to, all that matters at the end of the day is socialization. You can teach a dog a sit your whole life. I mean, it's one of the easiest things but you cannot it's harder to fix behaviors that have, developed over the course of time. It is so hard.
So, I mean, on teaching a dog something like that
I would
is
advise
difficult.
I'd advise people to focus more on behavior and not just the training. So you need to find a trainer that knows both sides of the board, because both are very important,
When you talk about socialization, you're talking about just being around other dogs.
Exposure. So, exposure. So, like you need to test different things. Some clients come to me, they want me to, certify their dog for like the AKC, Canine Good Citizen. And for instance, I would test startle response, or, the more that you can expose your dog to just random things, especially a puppy, you'll have a bomb-proof dog. And so that element's missed. And there's so many, it's called the canine critical periods of development. And within a puppy's life or a dog's life, if you miss those windows or they don't go exactly, that can impact the dog the rest of their lives. And so I tell people, whatever experience that they have, it should not be forced. It should also be, a positive one. And if it's not, then you just let it go and you don't baby them and you try again. So it's not always people get confused, like, okay, I need to hurry up and have my dog meet all these people. That's not the case. Your dog just needs to meet people on its own terms, where it's growing confidence and it's not just slammed with a bunch of things in its life. So it's all about building confidence in the right way. And you can have a bomb-proof dog.
And it starts with just doing the right things early on and reinforcing those
socialization first, and then working on that sit, working on that down. I literally, it sounds kind of opposite, but you really have to work on the socialization part.
And most people are like, look, I can make my dog sit. Yeah. They're more,
but then you have a dog that's very reactive. Yes.
Oh yeah. So there's a family member, my brother, he has these two English bulldogs. We've been an English bulldog family, and they'll sit, you can get them to roll over, but man, they are just wound up. And it seems like that is the issue then. A lot of people are more like focused on impressing their friends and family. Look, I can make my dog roll over. I can make him sit. But it's just that bad behavior compounds over time.
Yeah, I would say 80% of bad behaviors like chewing, destructive behavior, it seems like they're being obnoxious, is because they need more mental stimulation. And so, for instance, here we have something called the puzzle box, and it is probably, from what I've seen, one of the largest available. And it's basically a library. You can rent puzzles, and you can rent nose work to teach your dog nose work, different scents. And we have that here because I didn't want people to feel they don't want to spend, $30 on a puzzle that maybe their dog will do, or maybe their dog, a smarter dog may learn it in 2 seconds. And then what? You just bought a $30 puzzle. So I wanted to take that element out and empower people to work with their dogs. We have different levels from 1 to 5, and you'll start to see once you open it, it's like opening Pandora's box in a dog's mind, and they start to offer all these different things you never thought they could.
You unleash their superpowers.
Yeah,
essentially, right?
Exactly.
Well, that's really interesting because, just to kind of make sure that I understand this, and for the people that are watching or listening, because you said, dogs are meant to run, but at the same time, their mental energy is what kind of puts them at calm as well, right?
Yes.
When they have that mental stimulation. So that's where the smell therapy, the sound therapy, and those puzzles really come into play, right?
Yes,
It
correct.
expands their mental capacity, if you will,
Yes.
and calms them
And it
down.
creates a well-rounded dog, yes. Because
Okay.
people too often, especially with, lure training where you got a treat in your hand and, you're telling the dog this, telling the dog that. If you think of like your own dog, for the people that are dog owners, how often do you empower them to make a decision? Dogs are always there. People treat them like they're
Like little
robotic.
infants.
They're
Yeah.
robotic and they can't think for themselves and make decisions. And when you do that, you'll start to see the dogs deciding to make their own decisions, and they're usually naughty ones. So you want to empower them.
So let me ask you this, because it's kind of getting me thinking right now. I know I mentioned my brother's dogs, and actually all of our family pets. Thinking about it, growing up, they were hell on wheels. And I don't know if it's because they're spending majority of the time inside or whatever, but then my girlfriend's dog is like an angel on earth. Like, is the sweetest soul I've ever met. But she spent the majority of her life on a farm, kind of left to her own devices
Working,
and
yeah.
doing her own thing, where she was out working, doing her thing, and the dog's just running around, like going through the woods and whatever, but would always come back. And she's so smart, the smartest dog in the world,
Yeah.
and just so calm. Now, is that in line with what you're saying, to
Yes.
where
Yep.
because she's independent, and because she did that, she developed those other senses? Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yes. And
Okay.
essentially, domesticated dogs, like humanity has crippled the domesticated dog, because they don't
We've broken
let
our
them. And
dogs.
yes, and that's honestly why you see so many of them jumping fences here. They're just kind of in their way, they're retaliating, like, I'm done. I'm just going to do what I want to do, and I'm going to jump the fence, and I'm going to go, and I'm not going to come back. You have to catch me. So, and that's actually huge in the community right now, with so many free roaming dogs and, dogs escaping out of yards. So yes, it's a key component that's missing, is empowering and letting them think for themselves and giving them a job. I mean, they need to think for themselves,
So,
they need to also, though, find value in us and trust that the handlers or the humans that own them are going to provide for them. And if they don't see that, they're taking off down the road.
so it's less is more. That's kind of what it sounds like.
Less
Like, let it.
human thinking for the dog and empowering them to do different things. Yes.
That's fascinating to really think about. So let's talk about some of the other things that you offer here at Frey's Place. So we've talked about, from, the sound therapy, the sniff flat, what do we call it again? Smellbrary, and the puzzles. And I know you have a lot of different things going on. Obviously, there's a pool area. There's a little pool right behind us. You have. Is it an agility course? Is that what it's called in the back? Is that what they're typically
Correct.
called?
Yeah.
What's the main benefit of something like that? Just to see, like, to tire out the dog, or is it more of the mental stimulation as well?
Both. So we have 6,000 square feet in the dog park, and one side is actually geared towards nose work. We have like kits that people can actually check out, and they can use that side for nose work. And then the other side is more for like the sight hounds or the ones that are more active, and that's where the agility comes into play. They like to do a lot of body movement. That's where we have something called a fast cat machine, and it's just basically a customized machine, two of them actually, but they chase a lure, and it rotates into a box, and so we have a continuous loop, and it's basically like chasing a jackrabbit.
Okay.
And actually we called one of them Jack, but and then we have a indoor pool area. It's all private, so if somebody wants to reserve it, but people are welcome to swim with their dogs because it's their time. It doesn't really, it's just for them to have some quiet time and just, one-on-one with their dogs that they can't find anywhere else, because you either, you're on a beach and then your dog will take off somewhere, or, there's just no privacy. So this empowers people, with highly reactive dogs to go somewhere instead of being stuck in the house. And then, again, with them being stuck in the house, not being able to walk them because they're so reactive and they're barking and lunging at people, or they're barking and lunging at other dogs, it's a downward spiral, because, you start to get all that pent up energy like your brother's dogs. And then, they're starting to chew stuff up in the house. They're starting to just do, abnormal repetitive behaviors, circling, or just things you could tell that they're just wound up and they have no outlet for it. This will take that component out of it for them. It offers them something else, because we also, between the dog park, between the Nook, between the puzzle box library, between the pool, it's a way for people to get out.
And I can tell you really take a holistic approach through everything that you do here. I mean, everything sort of builds on one after the other. And you want to make sure that, as you were mentioning, that you have a well-rounded pet. So you have to give them the things that ultimately they were built for. And it leads me to really wanting to know more about this world of people who are in your field. Because I know that you take what you do really passionate. I mean, you really are passionate about what you do, and you really want the best for not only the pets themselves, but the people that come in here, right? You want to be able to be confident in your dog that when people come to the house, like, they're well behaved, all that. What are some of the other people doing? By other people, I mean other people in your field doing that you're like, this is a common practice that probably needs to be talked about, in terms of people are, not necessarily. Well, let me ask you this: what's the number one thing that you think you do differently than most people in your field that really makes the huge difference?
So like I said, I always learn. There is, when a trainer, especially a behavior trainer, stops educating themselves, they are robbing the client and the dog.
So you're constantly educating yourself.
Yeah, that's why I have so many. I have 70 certifications. Every year I do something different. I think last year I was out of state for 2 weeks, learning from an amazing trainer, and she worked actually with the government training. But so I feel that's how I offer something different, because there is no cookie cutter way of training. And if you don't have more than one tool in your tool belt, then you're robbing the community and the dogs. So
how much knowledge and I guess research is being done to where these new certifications are coming out? Like you said, you have 17 of them.
Yeah.
Okay. So like, are these, how many certifications could you possibly get? I guess,
keep on moving. Like I have, so some of the designations I have, for instance, one of them is through the IABC, and I have to take 36 CEUs. So it's continuing education units just to even keep that one. So it's constantly learning. So it's whatever I decide on doing next, really.
Yeah, man. And again, like I said, I know for a fact, just in the time we've known each other, you do your due diligence of making sure that you're staying up to date on all those different things. And I can tell that just putting this facility together, I mean, you were telling me that there was a few months of you guys just working those 12, 18-hour days, probably just getting this place ready.
Yep. It's been a lot. It's been a road, but yeah, it pays off seeing how happy everybody is. And so.
Well, what do you suggest that people do? Because a lot of people, like, you offer several different things here. What's it like for someone who just comes in here for the first time? Maybe they don't know it. You don't know what you don't know. And all they know is that, hey, like, little Scruffy here is not, not the best behaved dog. At the same time, we also know that he needs to be around some other dogs. What's that onboarding situation look like? That onboarding process look like, where someone brings a dog in for the first time? Do you have a little one-on-one with them? Do you kind of just let them do their own thing? Well, what's that look like?
So no, what we do here is we have a trial day. So people actually contact me, and then I'll get some information. What are you looking for? We have most of our clients are long-term. We've actually helped raise a lot of the dogs. So when we talk to them, we say, what are you looking for? We put a lot more work into the dogs. It's not like a free roaming, 30 dogs in a room and they just play. Here, we teach them all those manners and teach them new skills. And so when we talk to them, we'll say we'll do the trial day, and you come in, you drop your dog off, and then we have nap time from like 2 to 3, and that's what these cots are. They just kind of lounge around on cots. We're cage free here, and then we recommend they stay the whole day. So that's kind of how they would start things out.
So that's a great place to start. And in terms of like some of those people that have been with you and you've kind of raised their dogs, in a sense, do you have like an ongoing membership or services that, anything that you're looking towards in the future that help to really create a well-rounded dog?
Yes, we do. Actually, I do various events as well, especially for clients. So we have a lot of, we'll have like do-it-yourself projects, where, for instance, last year we did one, and it was like making a snuffle mat for your dog. And coming up in a few weeks, we'll have like a family movie night where you can bring your dog, and then we'll watch your dog while your family can watch a movie on like our outdoor screen. And then we have pack walks for the community, and we also, for my clients, they all get, we do have memberships coming up, and they also get benefits of, discounted pricing for instance, the puzzle box or the pool or the dog park, or, that kind of stuff that's built in. So we also don't believe in compartmentalizing services. So, I try I do the social media, everything, but I try to do report cards and include that in the experience instead of like compartmentalizing that.
Can we talk about that real
Yeah,
quickly for
definitely.
somebody that isn't sure what report cards? Because you were telling me about it, like report cards, like a legit, like your dog gets a report card, and A, B, C, D. Like, what's that mean?
We just let them know, what the dogs did for the day, and then we'll do like social media, and then I'll send it to the pet parent. And if, like, for instance, a dog maybe has loose stool, or maybe like he seemed kind of like off, I'll say, hey, your dog kind of seemed off today, and did you know this? Or it just keeps everybody in the loop, and you're not wondering. So people get to see like, wow, this is what my dog did. And then we also do art projects with the dogs. And so, for instance, like for Christmas, we'll have the dogs decorate ornaments, and then usually my fiance and I will go back through and decorate them even further to make them cuter. And then that's the gift to the pet parents from their own dogs. So we usually do it, random times of the year. Like sometimes it's some Valentine's cards, or, like fall stuff, or so, yeah.
There you go. A, B, or C. No, your ornament didn't look good enough. F, failed. That was no. That's really, really cool. Where do you see things going for Frey's Place? And you've been here in this space for quite some time now, and I know that you have some big plans. Every single time I talk to you, it's like, oh, we just finally put this thing in. Oh, we put this thing in.
Yeah.
And I know that you're constantly evolving. You're adding on. You want to create a better experience for the dogs that are here, and obviously for their owners, knowing that they're getting the type of stimulation that they need, the interaction, the socialization, they're getting all those things. Where do you see, what's the big picture with Frey's Place, and where you are now, and where are we going?
Sure. So the big picture, I guess, would be I would like to do more training and community events with people, and then just continuously growing. I believe I would like to stay the structure it is now, but maybe even opening a second location down the road, because
Really?
they will always stay smaller. I believe it just is quality over quantity. So, and that's will always be the goal. But for now, like I said, I want to offer more events for the community, and like birthday parties. People can do birthday parties here at their for their dog.
Yeah.
Just different things to kind of keep the community involved.
Why is that important for you?
Because I've, again, for years worked in the shelters, and the other way is, if they don't have enough resources at all, then a lot of times the animals will be rehomed or surrendered, or and I know, just even talking to my clients, that what I offer is help them keep their animal. So
Keep their animal and
in home.
Okay, in home. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure you saw a lot of that over the years,
Yeah.
working in the shelter.
Yeah.
You think that, I have to imagine too, that's incredibly sad, seeing that happen over and over and over again.
Yeah, it kind of puts like life into perspective, and I guess I'm blessed in a way, because I could have opened something like this and had no clue. You just do it because you can make money from watching dogs or whatever, but like the passion behind it, if I wouldn't have seen the other side, I don't think I would it wouldn't be like this.
Yeah.
Let's just say it. I wouldn't be doing as much as I do with the community or for the community, not having been in those shoes.
Yeah. I mean, you have to see both sides to
Yes.
really get a clear picture of what you're providing. And I can tell that what you're providing here is truly a valuable experience for the dogs that, are able to spend some time here and and they leave completely different. And just to kind of re-emphasize that point that you said earlier, and we were kind of talking about how people can tend to break their dog. I'm using that terminology, because you don't know what you don't know. And if you're training your dog the wrong way, or you're doing just what the other 99% of people are doing, it can lead to, some behavioral issues. What's the number one thing that people could walk away with right now in this episode, whether you're watching or listening,
Sure.
and they have one dog, two dog, three dogs, whatever? What's the little piece of advice that most of us don't know that will make a huge difference?
Be an advocate for your dog. Don't just go with the first trainer that sounds good, including me, because there's so many different training styles out there. But the training, it's got to be what fits you and what you feel is going to fit best for your dog, I guess.
So really do your due diligence. I mean,
Exactly.
if you call it,
And be open-minded. I
Yeah.
mean, honestly, people have, like I said, social media makes it hard where, people think one way is the best way, and, the other way is they're just horrible, or, they don't, it's just because of what social media has portrayed certain training styles as. So I just tell people, like, do your own research, and, don't jump on the bandwagon, because
do your own research, make sure that because I mean, you want to get a second opinion here, there, and how do you know if you find the right one? Well, I mean, I think you just kind of have to see the results for themselves. If if you're doing something and hey, the dog is actually behaving, they're not barking every single time somebody
Exactly.
walks in,
Yep.
maybe you're moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
How long would it take somebody who maybe they have a lot of behavioral issues, for that particular dog? I would imagine that the length of time it takes to correct something like that varies from pet to pet. And
Yep. So
maybe
behavior,
breed.
yeah.
What
Yep.
about breed? Does that play a role at all?
Yeah. So
Like
yes
this
and no.
particular
So
breed's stubborn. This one's not.
no, and stubborn's actually, a term that dogs don't, they're opportunistic. They're not stubborn. They don't know that they're being stubborn or not. They just decide, like, they have the mentality of 3-year-olds their whole lives. So they decide, like, hey, I think I'm just going to not listen to you and do something else because I that's what I want to do. And so people have to look at it where, what are they doing wrong? Like, if the dog doesn't understand something, then what are you missing? Maybe, you're expecting more than the dog is capable of because it doesn't understand what you're saying to him. A dog doesn't know a sit just because you say sit. You have to, like, work with the dog. So
Owner has to change, not the dog
Yeah.
has to change.
Yeah.
In the wise words of Michael Jackson, make that change. It's got to be you, man in the mirror. It's got to be you, not the dog. But again, what you help in terms of, so it sounds like there's got to be some education for the owner as well. So do you
100%.
bring them in as part of it so that people just don't drop their dogs, say, okay, fix it? You have to have that one-on-one with the owner too, right?
100%. So behavior is fluid. And when I tell people, if you are looking for help in behavior, do not find a trainer. You need to have somebody that specializes in behavior. It's two different skill sets. And I think what you had mentioned about, is it like breed specific? If it's breed specific tendencies, like I think that I was talking to somebody before this started, but he has a corgi, and the dog's likes to herd. That's a breed specific tendency. But like reactivity, fear, and that kind of, no, it just is usually a lack of socialization from an early point. So behavior, people have to be patient because the dog eventually will have like an aha moment and just something clicks and they understand that whatever they're afraid of, they don't have to be as afraid anymore. And so you start to, like, over time, systematically help them change that behavior. So it takes time. I mean, you can't take 8 months of a dog being terrified for whatever situation, especially, dogs that come from like hoarding situations, and think of it like the 8 months it took them. It may take 8 months for them to learn, like, the world's not as scary as you think. And you don't need to act the way you do, to get what you want, which would be happy, confidence.
There you go. It all builds on top of each other. And that's what I'm really learning here is that, things with, like most things, don't happen overnight, but through repetition, making sure that you're reinforcing the right things, you'll definitely get the result that you're looking for. So for the person that's watching or listening right now, what's the easiest way they can get in touch with you, as far as the website, picking up the phone? And we talked a little bit about what that first experience would look like, but should they do anything prior to reaching out to you just to make sure that you can, they can get the most out of that first visit with you?
Yes, and honestly, I tell people before I meet with them, personally with clients, if it's anything to do behaviorally related, always keep a log. So, when you bring people like me in, right, like, behavior trainer, it's kind of like following a breadcrumb trail. You need to see the why, not, a proper behavior trainer doesn't just stop the behavior. They need to figure out why your dog is performing the behavior and then help you fix that.
Find the root cause, not treat the symptoms.
Yeah. So I would recommend, people keep a log of, events that maybe triggers that happened before, and then, leading up to that dog maybe overreacting. So it just helps me in the long run. And then, I guess email is easier for me. There's only one other certified behavioral person in the area, so we're swamped. So I would just recommend like email, and then I contact people individually to hear more of what they're looking for. And I prefer taking harder cases like the one after this right now, but it's freeing up a little bit where I take other ones like resource guarding or other behaviors. Just
a little bit of everything. And awesome. And of course, we'll have all the information listed down below as far as the best way to get in touch with Maria here at Frey's Place, website, phone number, all that good stuff. Before we wrap up, I always love asking anybody that I do an interview with, a podcast episode. We've been talking a lot about just the ins and outs of, the dog world, and, some things that I know is really valuable for the person watching or listening if they have pets that they can take away from this episode. But on a more personal level, you've been at this for a little over 5 years here at Frey's Place, and you're at least living here in the Miami Valley. Frey's Place is doing well. But as an entrepreneur, as a person who's just went after your own dream, your own goal. You worked in the shelter world for a long time, and you said, hey, I'm going to do this thing on my own. I'm going to put my own spin on it. I'm going to take all these lessons that I learned that can serve other people and put my own little spin on it, if you will. What would be the one thing that the person watching or listening to this episode could take with them for the rest of the day, the rest of the week, the rest of the month, the rest of the year, the rest of their lives, that has served you up until this point, and it's what's allowing you to continue every day to have the grit to take things to the next level? Because again, as I walk around this place, you've put a lot of sweat equity into this facility. What's that big piece of advice that you would share with somebody that can give them the that go-to, that grit that has allowed you to get to this place?
I guess the go-to, especially for those that are struggling, with, chewing or just a dog that seems kind of overly energetic, is, it's your job. You can empower your dog, and your dog can be different tomorrow. Your relationship can always be stronger, so to keep moving forward and keep reaching out there, because there's people that can help out there. Like your dog isn't stupid, your dog isn't stubborn, your dog is just being a dog, and it's being opportunistic, and you can get help. So
that's the one thing I'm taking away from this. Not stubborn. It's when someone tells me I'm being stubborn, no, I'm just being opportunistic.
Exactly.
Maria, it's been great talking to you.
Thank you very much.